according to Mr. Aitchison, well, yeah, but the way you've always done it is you don't do it that way. And what was interesting is no one in this building had any idea that people were not exhausting their comp time. But the payroll clerks had been saying, no, this is how we're going to interpret it. We're going to let people not exhaust their comp time, or use sick leave, or use other things before that.
So you need the law here to say that you can't just manage that?
You need a decent supervisor.
Well, I don't know. I guess I don't make the leap of, if I take someone and say, you're no longer...
It's a leadership problem.
That corrects the problem that you just stipulated. I just don't see how that clicks. I'm having a challenge.
It makes that employee in a position where they are responsive to management, not responsive to some other position. And this again goes down to primary duties and other things. But if this is truly a payroll position where they are interpreting these policies, that's a management function. And their chain of command, their loyalty, etc., needs to be
Oh my God.
They're enforcing
Oh my freaking
policy,
God.
and if there's a problem, then the union needs to leave it. If they think there should be a change, if that's not what the contract says. But the people who are interpreting the contract need to be responsive to management.
I think that belongs at the management level, not necessarily, anyway. And then going back to what Mr. Burke was saying, I didn't hear you, Mr. Earnhardt, say that employees' salary, benefits, pay, PIP, service recognition, whatever, would freeze until eventually catch up. I heard you say that if this passes in this form or something close to it, that in essence it wipes the slate clean and then the new rules apply. And so someone could lose pay for performance, whatever that percentage is, 3, 4, 5%. They could lose something in the start of the new contract. It doesn't freeze, as Mr. Burke was trying to find. You people's anxiety.
Well, this ordinance does one thing, it absolutely states that your longevity, service recognition are going to continue fully grandfathered in. PIP levels will freeze at those levels earned with the exception of an annual renewal in some cases. But what I am emphasizing is there is no municipal policy, there is no law, there is no directive anywhere that says at the end of the contract that everything's going to continue forward or be frozen at that level or anything else. So what happens is when the contract comes out, we've got to negotiate a new contract. As we do,
So they could lose everything.
For 40 years, there's a new contract. We need to set proper pay levels within the constraints of the money available and what will work for the bargaining unit, what's agreed to at the table, what's approved by the assembly, all those functions.
So let's say, give an example. Let's say you've got a bargaining unit that has negotiated away service recognition in lieu of PIP. That PIP gives them a 5.5% at a certain point in their career if they meet all those objectives. New law changes, end of contract in less than 2 years, the slate goes clean. They lose the 5.5% PIP. It's not locked in anywhere, as you said. It's not frozen until someone catches up. And the negotiation process stipulates back to, you know, the only thing you can negotiate is their salary, which is tied to the CPI over the last 5 years plus the 1. What if it's, just no hypothetical, what if it's 3%? You get the 4. Now, in my opinion, they lost 1.5%.
Well, if they
so there's no freezing anywhere.
If they had, under PIP, if they had already gotten to the 5.5% level, although most of it's 6.5% of the first level, 13%. If they've already achieved that, they're keeping it. That is said in the ordinance under that O20 section. Someone who has longevity pay has already earned it, and that's just going to stay. Service recognition, some people still have additional steps to achieve. They'll be able to achieve those steps, and that's because historically we have grandfathered those people in, so we continue to do that. But under the PIP program, if you achieved your 6.5% or your achieved it. If you haven't achieved it, you're not gonna get it. Because the policy is to pay people for their job duties and not for coming in sober and not crashing your car.
And then, I want to look at that, because I guess, how many people are actually on the municipal employee relations position staff that does classification positions to do duties? Because years ago, it used to be one person in the part-time.
Right now, we have one individual, we have another, we're doing a recruitment, and the process is going to go through a 2-year cycle. We're looking at additional training for another employee to have in a total of 3.
So my concern is, having been personnel commander at one time at the department at APD, we were looking at PDs and trying to update them. Some of them were 5, 7, 8 years old. And we were trying to load up classification and employee relations and say, hey, we need to update these things, get them fresh, much like 89 orders. And they couldn't be done. So we put these into play, and we're gonna now go back and reclassify positions and where there may be negotiated items of SWAT pay, canine handler pay, the enhancements or qualifications Mr. Trump was asking about. It's going to be melded in, or are we moving it back to the negotiation? I think it goes back to a police officer classification is pretty clear. Senior police officer, a sergeant, those are all clear. But what they do on top of those basic classifications is the area that, I guess, except for lieutenant. So I think it's going to be a huge challenge under the 3.30 and under the personnel rules, trying to get classifications. I don't know if you can do it in the time. You need to have your people ready to go right now. I think it'll be a huge challenge. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, I just want to take a few moments to introduce, you'll see it in your agenda packets, an AR 2013-77. I talked to Ms. Tucker, of course, in advance. I couldn't really communicate with the rest of the body here, the colleagues, without having an open meeting. This was the first opportunity that we'd be together. And I just urge you to read this and give it serious consideration. I just want to highlight one major area. This is our assembly, of course, and we have to be very comfortable and really know what we're doing and we're putting forth a substantive law change that we're doing. So in 1988, when Mayor Tom Fink presented something similar, as you will, total rewrite of 3.70, and the assembly body at that time, the stuff they helped me go back to some recollections of this, which helped me find a lot of documentation and minutes while being on the microfiche that they gave themselves about 6 months to work on a good work product so they clearly understand. They did a collaborative effort of a work committee or a task force, I'm going to call it, to make it right. And I'm not against changing 3.70. I think, as we all know, in 19th century, certainly things have changed. But if the administration took 6 months to draft these potential changes, using outside counsel as the team of your 30,000 and then current staff within the house, I don't think we owe ourselves anything less than that to really clearly get it right. If I ask you to look at it, if you want to co-sponsor on the floor, fine, please let the clerk know. I just encourage us to make sure we get it right. I'm not admitting it's changing anything. I'm walking away even with the S1 version. I still have some serious concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Holman, thank you for bringing up what happened with staff, what happened with staff, the family, and the way that it should be handled now. But I also want to thank you for addressing a lot of the employees' concerns regarding their fear of getting a significant reduction in pay. And Mr. Earnhardt responded to you, and Mr. Holman asked you again, and you seem to be quite content with his response. But I wasn't, because I don't really think, at least for me, that you really answered the question clear enough so everybody here can understand. There's got to be a significant reduction in pay for some of our employees. I mean, it's just that simple. I think it is.
I don't.
The answer.
I can't answer that question. That would be, in any case, it would be for the administration, negotiators, etc. But the other thing is, as these contracts come up, the economic environment will be looked at, the market environment will be looked at, and and there's all the things that go into the negotiation. And nothing in this ordinance changes the way collective bargaining agreements have been done as far as you've got to pay people well enough that they're going to want to work for it. And, you know, it represents the responsibility of doing these things. On the other hand, we have to look within the available revenue. And, you know, as these agreements come up, there's a whole lot of things in play. And the work is just going to begin after the ordinance will be negotiated.
Right, and I recognize that, and I thank you for your response. But, in other words, some of these fears are pretty legitimate, what I'm hearing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Who's pressed?
Thank you.